class, and all the parents were like previously going in to make sure they all stayed like nice and far apart for COVID, but they just like moved us out of the dance class, and Hazel just killed it. She did all the choreography, and it was really fun.
That's nice.
Yeah, she did way better than when I was in there with her.
Are we live?
I haven't seen a thing come through yet.
Oh, on YouTube?
Yeah.
I see it says live.
How have you all been doing with the cold?
Very bad. I hate it.
I've been really worried about like the people in the South where the infrastructure just like can't support it, and it's like 0 degrees in some places I was reading, and people have no heat and no electricity. It's been days.
Very scary.
I have a client, and they're in Tennessee, and they had to like cancel all their training sessions for the next like 2 weeks because they can't go in to work and stuff.
Yeah. It's crazy.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the video too so we don't miss a chat. I feel bad that we missed it.
Jackie, you're pulling that up?
Yeah, it's weird because there's a lag.
Okay. Do you want one of us to get started then?
Yeah.
Are we on YouTube?
I think so, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, hello, everybody watching this class. We are Ballet Bharatanatyam. I think this week we're doing half and half. So this class is we do half an hour ballet, half an hour Bharatanatyam. Please watch our previous videos. We've gone through some of the technique at this point, and we're continuing deeper, I think, into the curriculum, but we tend to go back usually a couple steps each week and review as well. So please feel free to join us on Zoom, and we'd definitely love that. So we'll get started with introductions here. My name is Anjali. I'm one of the Bharatanatyam instructors, and I use the pronoun she, her.
Hi, my name is Shruti, and I'm also one of the Bharatanatyam instructor, and I also go by she, her.
Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm one of the ballet instructors, and I use the pronoun she, her.
I always talk about how awkward it is because we never know when we're gonna like jump over someone, so we have long pauses and we cut each other off. Well, I'm Kristen. I'm another ballet instructor, and I use she, her.
Okay, so I think we decided this week we're going to be starting with Bharatanatyam. So everybody maybe take a minute and actually, Jackie, did you want to do stretching or anything today before we get started?
I was going to do foot stretches as a part of ballet.
Okay, sounds good. We'll still do Bharatanatyam first then. All right, so everybody find a spot. Just wait, hopefully you can see here. Wherever you are, also take a minute just to stretch yourself out. Even though we don't usually stretch together necessarily as a class, we try to do a few warm-up exercises, but please pay attention to your own body. So if you're doing this at home, take a few minutes before you maybe start the video. You can always do a couple stretches on your own and just get the body warmed up a little bit before we begin, since we kind of start sitting right into a couple things. So we'll get started with Namaskaram. So this is what we do at the beginning and end of class. We'll start with our hands up here, right at chest level in Kataka, which is again your forefinger and your middle finger with your thumb on both sides. All right. Dalangu taka dimi taka tadigina tom taka dimi taka janu 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 taka dimi, taka janu, tam. Another thing that you can add in Namaskaram, so we're kind of going to add a couple things every week, is when we have our hands here at the beginning, and I don't think we've ever said this before, in Kataka Mukhahan, both sides, when you're stamping the right leg, you can glance at your right hand. And similarly, when you stamp your left hand, you can glance down at your left hand. If that comes naturally and you want to start incorporating that, please feel free to do so. Slowly as we go on, we'll be incorporating more looking and eye movements and head movements. But this is something that since we're practicing every week to get a head start, this is something that you can start with. So we'll start with nade, just walking to get our legs warmed up a little bit before we get into other adavus. Again, I won't go over too much today, just, slight bounce in your step, really make each step intentional and kind of keep your shoulders squared back, okay? Talangu takadimi takatadinginatom, takadimi takajanu, 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 takadimi. All right, one more time, a little bit faster. Come back to wherever you kind of started, whether that's the corner or just the back of your space. Talangu takadimi takatadinginatom, takadimi takajanu, 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 takadimi. All right, everybody on the video looks great. If you're not able to see my feet 100% when I get to the front, that's okay. At this point, I trust that you guys are kind of picking up those feet and coming to the front of the room. So we will start with Tattu Metadavu, and we're going to switch over to Shruti, video-wise. All right, you guys can see Shruti on camera, who will smile and give you a little wave. So we're gonna just use this as a warm-up today. So we'll do our 3rd, our 4-beat, our 5-beat, 7-beat, and 9-beat. The speed we'll use in the beginning will be ta, ki, ta, ki, ta, and then we'll stop between each one and just state that the 4th and take a little break before we go on to the next one. So again, we're just using this as a warm-up. Some weeks we do it continuously. Today we can take a little bit of a break in between each one. Okay? So we'll start with Tishram, which is 3. Dalangu takadimi takatadinginatom, ta, ki, 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 ta. Okay, great job. I was going to clap, but I actually think for this exercise it's okay since there might be a slight lag and it's just feet. So I think everyone's on video is getting the hang of it by the Sholukata that I'm saying. So we'll do 4th now. Actually, we'll do 3rd one more time and we'll do a little bit faster. So we're gonna do each one in 2 speeds. So this time we'll do takita, 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 takita in that speed, okay? Dalangu takadimi takatadinginatom, ta, ki, 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 ta. Okay, great. And again, this is really your chance to kind of sit down as much as you can, of course. Everyone's body is slightly different, and really make sure you're grounded instead of kind of shifting away from side to side. All right. We are going to go to the next one, which is Chatushram, which is 4. So it's taka dimi. We'll do taka de mi, taka de mi. Let's hear it, okay? Dalangu takate mi takata dingina tom ta ka de mi ta ka de mi ta ka de mi ta ka de mi. Okay, one more time, a little bit faster. And then Shruti, if you want to just take maybe one step back. Yeah, there we go. I think we can see your feet now. All right, a little bit faster. And it might go a little bit longer if it's just hard to catch on in the beginning. Dalangu taka de mi taka ta dingina tom ta ka de mi 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 ta ka de mi. Okay, good. That was great. You guys went for a little bit longer this time, and that was good. All right, we will move on to Kandam, which is 5. And this is ta, ka, ta, ki, ta. So remember, after the first initial ta, your beat 2 is going to be silent. And then your next 3 beats are going to be ta, ki, ta, which is the 3 you learned about before. So 1 is your first step, and then you're going to pause for the next beat, and then ta, ki, ta is how you finish. That's just the combo of 3, okay? Dalango taka de mi taka ta dingina tom ta ka ta ki ta ta ka ta ki ta ta ka ta ki ta ta ka ta ki ta. Okay, we'll go a little bit faster. This one's kind of slightly awkward in a faster speed. We don't use it as much in second speed because it's a little bit, I think weight-wise, it does feel a little bit more like galloping because of that pause that you have, but it's still good, I guess, to kind of get the agility and the movement in the feet. So we'll do ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ta, and that's okay. Ta, langu, ta, ka, di, mi, ta, ka, ta, di, gi, na, tom, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta. Again, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta. All right, I think that's a little bit slower than I said it was going to be, but that's okay. All right, now we're going to go to Mishram, which is 7. So ta, ki, ta, ta, ka, de, mi. Your 3 plus your 4. All right. Dalangu taka de mi taka ta dingina tom ta ki ta ta ka de mi ta ki te ta ka de mi ta ki te ta ka de mi ta ki te ta ka de mi. All right, this one we're gonna try slightly faster. If it ends up being the same speed, that's okay. You'll just get to practice it one more time. But I'm aiming for a faster speed, okay? Make sure to give me a thumbs up maybe when you're ready to go. You get a little break in there. Okay, good. Talango taka de mi taka ta dingina tom ta ki ta ta ka de mi ta ki ta ta ka de mi ta ki ta ta ka de mi ta ki ta ta ka de mi. Okay, good. That was actually slightly faster than I said the first time. So good job if you're able to keep up with that. So we will do the last one. And this is 9. So it's going to be 4 plus 5. All right. And we will start. So okay, good. Got a little break, everybody. Okay. Dalangu taka de mi taka ta de gina tom ta ka de mi ta ka ta ki ta ta ka de, mi, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ta, ka, de, mi, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ka, de, mi, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta. All right, I am going to go a little faster. If this is hard to keep up with, that's okay. But we're just going to do it a little bit. It just will be a little bit of a challenge, okay? Ta, ka, de, mi, ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, ka, de, mi, ta, ka, ki, okay? Dalango ta, ka, de, mi, ta, ka, ta, de, gina, tom, ta, ka, de, mi, ta, ka, ta, ki, 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 ta. Ooh, good. Good job, guys. I was a little bit faster. I was keeping clap this time a little bit to myself, so I could tell myself a little bit faster. All right, so we will jump into Pakadavu, Visharadavu, or Paravaladava. So all three are kind of the same name, but most commonly probably known as Pakadavu. So Shruti will take over in terms of instructing us, I guess, what we'll start with. But the goal today is to do a little bit of 1 and 2, since 2 we didn't really put together last time, and we're going to try to go for a more fluent speed.
I'm just catching up on my breath, so I'm just kind of like giving some 10 seconds break here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So if you just want to kind of like just show them how the first step is, then maybe I can kind of like,
As Shruti's kind of taking a breath, I guess one thing that if you know, we might not specify it on video, but if one thing you want to try with any of these exercises, not to confuse yourself, but to just give yourself a change, is instead of using the right leg as your dominant leg for like takadimi, let's say 4, takadimi. Instead of starting with your right leg, you can also do takadimi, and that's starting with your left. It's a little bit opposite, so you kind of have to get your mind to function the other way, since it's not exactly, you're not doing the exact same thing on both feet. For takadimi, for example, you're stamping first, then you're putting your heel down, then you're putting your toe down, and then you're putting the heel down. So you start with your left side, you have to stamp with your left side first, then put your left heel down, then put your right toe, and then put your right heel. So it is slightly different step. But in dances, we do sometimes do the other foot or the other direction. And previously, we've also done where you keep your feet actually, one of your feet in front of the other, and you'll sit this way with this knee facing forward, and you can actually move forward with the step as well. So if I would say probably we won't get into using this as a step yet, but if you do want to challenge yourself by starting with the opposite leg, not to confuse yourself, but if you feel like you can take that next step, you can feel free to try it out sometime. So.
Yep. Thanks, Anjali.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll start with the Visharadavu first step. So we kind of like did the first and second step in the last class. So Anjali is going to just kind of like quickly show the leg movements for the first step. If you just want to kind of like ta, tai, tai, ta, dit, tai, ta, ta, tai, ta, dit, tai, ta. Okay. Same way on the left it goes. So I'm going to go with the first speed, which is like ta, tai, ta. So this is the tempo that I'm going to go. So let's start. Talangu takadiku takata dinginatum. Ta, tai, ta, dit, tai, ta, ta, tai, ta, dit, tai, ta. Left, ta, tai, ta, dit, tai, ta, ta, tai, ta, dit, ta. Awesome, guys. Looked really good. So what I'm thinking is like, Anjali, can we do the second speed of the same, like right and
Yeah.
left once, and then
No.
maybe switch to the
One thing
second
I'm
step?
thinking that we potentially could introduce is in this could kind of actually be an introduction to bending a little bit, you know.
Okay.
Again, only if you're comfortable, but here the natural tendency is that you can bend a little bit towards this arm. It's not in a very exaggerated manner. It's very slightly leaning your body in that direction and making this curve. So your head, you don't want your ear to touch your shoulder. It's a very natural bend. But if you want to start incorporating that, feel free to loosen up the body just a little bit. Again, if it feels like too much and you feel like you're going too far into it, dial it back. But because this is so straightforward in terms of how you're moving your torso, if you want to add a little bit of that bend, just very slightly, this is like a very good adavu to at least try incorporating that in. Again,
Yeah,
this is the first time doing it this week with us. Dial it back and just keep the body straight and pivot the torso, I think would be my advice.
that's a good point. Yep. We'll go with the second speed for the first step again, and the speed tempo is ta, tai, tai, ta, dit, tai, tai, ta. Talangu takadiku takata dingina to. Ta, tai, tai, ta, dit, tai, tai, ta. Ta, tai, tai, ta, dit, tai, tai, ta. Left, ta, tai, tai, ta, dit, tai, tai, ta, ta, tai, tai, ta, dit, tai, tai, ta. Awesome. Let's go to the second one. Anjali, you just want to kind of like show them quick, really quick,
Yeah.
like kind of then.
So give me 1 second here. So the second one, we're doing the exact same feat as we were doing. So we're kind of 2 weeks now. The only difference really is here is the hands. Again, we'll go to the side. We'll just do the hands and feet together instead of reviewing them separately. We'll just put them together at this point.
Yep.
You're going to come back. You're going to go to the other side. You're going to come back.
And then
again,
forward.
Hands are just changing from this Kataka Mukha to Alapadma, down to the side, back Alapadma, and changing. Again, just you want to, I think somebody asked this question last week, between here and here, you just want to make sure that by the time you hit that point, it changes to Alapadma. By the time it comes back here, it hits this region, it is back to Kataka Mukha. Okay? And forward, like Shruti was just about to say, is when you start with your right side first, you're going to turn your body so that your right side of your body, I'm not sure how the video is viewed, but the right side of your body should be coming forward. And again, you're going to bring it back. Now, and then you're going to flip your body. Again, feet, your right toe should be behind. You're just going to flip your body. It's a very split second. And you're going to come forward with the left foot and the left hand, and you're going to bring it back. And essentially, if somebody was standing right here and watching me, it should look like I'm doing this out of move from the front. So however it looks like this from the front, if somebody was standing right here, this to them should look like the front. So I hope that directionally helps a little bit.
Yeah, we can do very slow right now.
Okay.
So that we kind of like get a hang of it. Yep. Talangu takadi kutakata dingina to. Ta, tai, tai, ta, dit, tai, tai, ta, ta, tai, tai, ta, dit, tai, tai, ta, ta, tai, tai, ta, dit, tai, tai, ta, ta, tai, tai, ta, dit, tai, left side. Ta, tai, tai, ta, dit, tai, tai, ta, ta, tai, tai, ta, dit, tai, tai, ta, ta, tai, tai, ta, Dit, say, ta, ta, say, ta, dit, say, ta. Good job, you guys.
Another thing would be follow your hands for the most part. I'm going to tilt the camera up a little bit here. Follow your hands for the most part. If you see me looking towards the audience, it's more so to check if I'm in frame. So be sure that for the most part, you're following your hand, you're following it back, following your hand, following it back. And then again, even though you're facing this direction, you are essentially doing the same arm movement. So you want to look, and then just by chance this time, following it to the side means looking forward. Follow it back, same thing this way, follow to the forward, and follow it back.
Yeah, and the one thing that I want to add is like when I kind of like putting your hands in the forward, just make sure that you don't hide your face, as Anjali said last week. And also when you're turning, just make sure you kind of like maintain the armandi. That's the only thing that I was wanting to point out. Yep. Otherwise, it all looked good.
Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else for this step. For this step, like Shruti just mentioned, try to keep your Adamandi in your form as sitting as possible. If anybody has ever seen this step before, here's a little trick. I guess, well, not trick, it's more of a technique. I'll say technique/trick that we have not introduced before. But if you've ever seen this particular step or adavu in dances before, they're usually, people can cover the stage or wherever the space they're performing, they're able to cover a lot of ground, or they're able to give it this leaping look. It's a look that, it's a step that looks very light on the feet and gives like a very bouncing, light feeling to it. And the reason for that is actually not necessarily that we're jumping or we're leaping, but there is a lightness to the feet. When you pick that foot up, there's a slight bounce, okay? So in any of these steps, first and foremost, it's really important to be grounded and to learn the step as sitting as possible, as much as you can sit, basically. But while sitting, if you are able to start adding a little bounce in your step, that is where it gives a little bit of that playfulness or that graceful kind of light feeling to it. Again, I would really master your Adamandi first and really pay attention to sitting. What we don't want to happen is, we're standing up. It is still very much sitting, but so that's the technique part of it. The trick part of it that I'll tell you is half of that comes from actually folding your legs. So even while sitting, before kind of adding a spring or anything, what really adds that type of structure to it is making sure this back leg that comes and touches the toe, that you're not just dragging it and placing it. So there's none of this where you're dragging it and putting it behind you. You want to make sure that when you lift it, it gives that impression of kind of being light on your feet. So that's part of the trick, and the technique part of it is, being light on your feet in general. Shruti, do you have anything to add there? Kind of a...
No, you kind of like test everything. The only one thing that I would want to add is like the steps, as Anjali mentioned, that it's kind of like in all dances, it's basically used to kind of like move from one position to other position. So as you kind of like sit in Aramati and maintain the posture, you can kind of like even kind of like keep your steps a little far ahead, like far
Right.
from the left leg or the right leg, whichever you choose to kind of like lift first.
And I think for the purpose of video and things like that in class, we're obviously showing you from here to here, but
Yep.
If you ever see this is a move that if you've seen in a lot of dances or performances, somebody will really use it to travel from side to side. And, right now, again, I would really focus on keeping your arm under. And if that means just going from here to here, that is completely okay. We prefer that.
True.
But if it feels like, if you've been with us now for a couple of months or a few weeks and you're getting used to your Adamandi, I really test yourself in terms of really lifting these, making sure that you lift and pick up that leg. And again, a reminder for that is you're lifting and you're picking up by this knee. Right here, this joint is where you lift up and you place. So you should nicely see the foot pick up and be placed back on the ground. It really adds some definition to the footwork. So I think that's all I have. Want to try it again?
Yeah.
Can you show us full out just so we can see how beautiful you are?
oh, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I'm warmed up to do full out. But yeah, so, you know, you can really move with this step, right? You can go. And I'm still maintaining my posture. I'm still sitting, but I'm just adding that little bit of a leap. And sometimes people go diagonal, you know, so that's kind of the range of movement that you can get. Of course, you don't want to, everybody is a different, like Kristen, for you, for example, you know, with your legs being much longer, you'd be able to probably cover way more ground for that, those dimensions. So of course, it's all relative to the length and the feet as well. But this step is very simple, but it really has like the capability to look very, very graceful. So
I noticed you have been really, that first step you don't move, and then the second step is more of a leap. Is that typical to always kind of be more in one place for that first step, and then that second one is the one that travels?
Yeah, so you bring up a really, really good point. The reason why we do that, there's a couple reasons. I actually asked this too when I was first learning, is that first step we don't usually step away from our body. We usually ground ourselves before we take a leap to the next step. It's a little natural, but it's also because I think once you get into a little bit of faster speeds and you're combining steps, you would lose your balance a little bit, which is kind of from that center. I don't know if Shruti, you have a better way to describe it, but
No, I would add to it. The first step is kind of like the hands are different, like where you go like in your side from front to side. So when you're kind of like taking that leap, it's not going to be super graceful. Your body is going to kind of like super fall on one direction. But in the same way, like when you're kind of like doing the second step, when your hands are going like out and then going to the side, it's kind of like when you leap, you get that perfect arc, which is kind of like even more, looks beautiful when you kind of like do. And that also helps you kind of like to jump or to move a little bit more than the first step.
yeah, and I think to that too, both Shruti and Jackie, it's kind of, it almost mirrors the hands. Like I think Shruti was kind of getting at too, was, you know, that first step, your hands are really going up, and then is kind of when you go to the side. So your momentum kind of takes you to the side, versus if your hand was going up, but your first step was going this way, it just kind of feels like your center would be thrown off a little bit. So this kind of grounds you, and this is kind of where you would get that movement to go to the side. I think for this step specifically, we may see that change a little bit in other out-of-who's, but I think the same kind of applies to this as well, is we're starting forward, and the second step is when we're really getting to go out to the side. So hope that helps a little bit.
Yep. I think we're a little over time. We can just go to Namaskaram.
Yeah, I think that's good for today.
Sure, yeah.
Comes through. Okay, everybody good for Namaskaram? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay, sounds good. So we will come back to these two next week, but now since we've kind of done it once through, when we revisit now Papkarava next week, we will start on the 3rd. All right, so for Namaskaram, again, we just did the beginning of class. And again, you can add the glancing. I will add it this time just to show you what that looks like. Dalangu takadimi takatadinginato, takadimi takajanu, 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 tam.
Yay.
All right.
I'm just gonna switch to Jackie for ballet.
Thanks for demonstrating for us, Anjali.
Yeah, of course. So I was like, oh, hopefully it looks like what I've described. I'm sure it actually looks much more full out and beautiful. It has a potential to look even better than that. So
It looked great.
all right.
So Jackie had noticed that on last week's YouTube comments, someone asked for some foot stretches. I imagine to help with like the point. Was that what they were asking for, Jackie?
I think so.
Yeah.
So I have a few that to give you kind of quickly that you can maybe practice on your own time, and then I have like 3 different exercises that we could do together. Does that sound okay with you, Kristen?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
I was also remembering that we had wanted to add the like Susu turn in between the right and left sides. So if we don't have time today, we'll just remember that for future weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think the foot exercise will take too long, but we'll just, if you can keep an eye on time, that would be great. So the first exercises I have sort of I might move my camera down, so bear with me. To work on your feet, it's important with all of these that we remember the alignment of your foot in a point. So it's important kind of from the side view that you're pointing your entire foot. You're not just pointing your toes, right? You want to think about stretching through this part of your foot, and your toes are just kind of at the end. And then it's also important that you are keeping your ankle and toes in alignment, or even better, to like wing it out. So you don't want to do this. You can actually get your foot to point quite a bit more if you do this, but this is not good alignment for ballet, and it doesn't create as pretty of a line. So you want your toes either straight or, if possible, winged. And I'm going to go through some exercises that are going to help us both get more of a point and more of a wing. So the first ones, and feel free to like reference this video in your free time, because I'm just going to go through it quickly. So the first kind of exercises to sort of stretch your feet, one I do pretty much every morning. If you do yoga, and I'm not a yoga instructor, so don't judge my yoga abilities, but if you're doing sort of that vinyasa, where you're going from the chaturanga to your down dog, up dog to your down dog. So typically when you're doing it, right, you would be here and then you'd flip your toes over and go to down dog. What I do, and again, remember to keep your feet in alignment, so you don't want to sickle that foot in, you want to keep it winged out, is from the up dog, I don't flip my toes, and I go to that down dog while my toes are still tucked under, and you get a nice stretch, and then I'll flip my feet over. So that's just kind of something you can, if you do yoga, you can add that in without adding kind of any extra time onto your day. Another one is if you sit like this and your feet are untucked, you can just lift your knee and you should feel a nice stretch across the front of your foot, and then you can do the other one. And then if your feet are feeling kind of cramped, tuck your toes, sit back, and you'll feel a nice stretch through your arches. So those are some good ones. And then as far as kind of strengthening, if you have a resistance band, or I mean, if you're in a pinch and don't have one, I've used like stretchy leggings before and tights, and it's worked. What you would do is you wrap it around your foot, and then you can just practice flexing and pointing your toes. So I just flex and point and flex and point, and that just builds up a lot of strength here. Again, it's really important that you're not going to sickle your foot. You want to keep it in alignment or winging out as you do this. So do that on both feet. And then to sort of gain some strength to wing your feet out, you just put it around your foot, hold it to the side, and then you sickle your foot and wing, sickle and wing, sickle and wing, and then you can do it the other way as well until you wing, and then practice sickling, wing, practice sickling, and that will just strengthen up all the muscles in your foot and ankle. So those are just some kind of good exercises to do. You should feel like a strain, like you're working out. If you feel a bad pain, stop it. And you can join us on Zoom and we can look at what you're doing. if you're feeling a bad pain. So those are kind of my at-home exercises. Are there any questions or comments on those?
I would think even if people didn't have a resistance band, even doing that like point and flex exercise without one would be great. And I love how you were sitting with like the one leg in, because one that kind of stretches the same legs as you need for like greater turnout. And then two, you can really watch each foot one at a time. So you can really pay attention to see if it's like sickling in or.
Is your advice for like if your foot cramps to try to like keep on stretching the other way as well, like practice that over time too? Because I find that like the pointing is always harder for me than flexing the other direction, you know? And maybe that's a common thing for a lot of people, but it's just, yeah, how do you get your foot used to that over time? Are these the exercises to just kind of start
Does your
with?
foot stay cramped even after you stop pointing, or is it sort of like that kind of like burning in the arch?
It's one of those sometimes, you know, when you feel like it's about to cramp and you like pull back, all of a sudden you're kind of pointing and you hit that point and then you're like, oop, and then you kind of pull back a little bit. So maybe I don't let it ever get fully cramped, but there's always that feeling, and it's usually right. It's like usually right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, that's probably a common thing. Yeah, just right in that area. And usually if I come right out of it and I do this, it goes away in a second. It's not that it stays and is like a pain that lasts for a very long time. It just sometimes I feel like I don't push myself to then even keep trying it because it'll hit that point. And I'm just wondering, are these probably just effective to keep on trying?
Yeah. I would say it's common, like my feet cramp up, like when I did ballet every day growing up, my feet would very rarely cramp, and it was normally I was dehydrated or low on electrolytes or something, or low on potassium. Now I find my foot cramps up more, and I think it's just because I'm not using it or practicing it as much. So I would always listen to your body. If you're feeling pain, stop.
I do agree that I feel like I can point more now than the first day we ever started. You know, in the beginning, I feel like the first step, my foot couldn't really point that much. So I feel like I'm at least a little bit better, but yeah.
I think if you feel like you're pointing and then you kind of get to that point where you're like, oh, it's about to cramp, and then you release. So long as it's not like hurting, like a bad pain like we talk about, I would imagine that that's your foot kind of like becoming more flexible and stronger.
Yeah.
And over time, it'll be like longer and longer periods before you get to that point where you're like, oh, it's about to cramp.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I noticed too that, I don't know if this is what's happening for you at all, or maybe it could be for someone else on YouTube, that if I really like squeeze my toes into a point as well, if that makes sense. Like if I try to like bend my little toes as much as possible, I get like a really weird feeling in my foot. And I don't know your opinion, Jackie, but my teachers always kind of said that those toes like didn't really curl under. Is that what your teacher said too?
I mean, I feel like the focus, and I noticed myself doing this too, is like I get lazy. And so I will really just kind of point my feet, and I don't point my toes as much. Like if I do, right, it looks way better. But I think, and I wonder if it's from doing point, like if I actually pointed my toes all the way, I'd be over my box. So yeah. I think I actually relax my toes a little bit. But I think you're supposed to point all the way, but I definitely will feel more of a cramp if I point my toes really hard too.
Yeah.
Can you redefine sickle? We always talk about
this. Yep. So this is regular. That's sickled.
Okay. So one more time, regular.
It's like
regular. Yeah, it's like a sick, right? It looks like
super familiar with a sickle.
Yeah.
I don't know
This
if I've
is like-
ever seen a sickle.
This is like when I watch dance movies and I see this, right? I'm always like, oh.
Yeah, because we don't want to sickle, correct?
No.
Okay.
And there's like a reason, but I mean, if you were to try to go up on a point shoe like that, you would like break your ankle. But also like if my leg is out to the front, right? And then you sickle it ruins that line. So it doesn't look as pretty.
So why does
it makes
or sorry, the leg is
no
thing might be off a little bit. Why do you think it is that the foot naturally does that? Is it because like we have a tendency to like put more pressure on that outside of the foot and that pushes it in that direction? Or is it just actually more of a stylistic thing that some people accidentally do? You know, or is it a tendency that the foot does more naturally than keeping it straight?
I think it depends on your body what your foot does most naturally.
Okay.
I noticed too that when I sit in Aramundi and remember that I'm beginner, right? I notice that my feet will kind of like roll forward, which I think that rolling forward is kind of similar to a sickle. It's sort of like a collapsing of the arch. So when I'm in Aramundi and kind of like doing the exercises, I'll notice that my arch has collapsed, which I think is a similar thing as happens in like a sickled foot. Yeah, but I'm just a beginner, you know, doing the Aramundis. But I think it's just a common thing that people do collapse their arches in like lots of different situations. Right. That's where, you know, when people like bunions come from like collapsed arches.
No.
I don't know. I think my point earlier with like not pointing your toes is you want the point to come from like the arch of your ankle, then the arch of your foot. I think the point I was trying to make that if I really like point up my toes, then it gets like really, really cramped. And so it's maybe okay to like relax your toes a little bit and do the arch in the ankle.
Yeah. I'd say this line is the most important part of a point. Like that like hook at the end is really nice and pretty to have. But like this is what makes your leg look really long is this versus like if you're pointing only your toes. That's not making your leg look any longer.
Jackie, that looks so beautiful and I'm trying it right now and it's looking so bad on my leg. And I'm like, oh my God, how will I get that arch? I'm not on video because there's no electricity in here. So I was just kind of like off. So I'm on mobile data. So yeah, I'm just trying to do it. And it's kind of like, yeah, yours looking beautiful. Like, you know, that the arch that's kind of like giving, mine is kind of like super flat.
Maybe you go, Jackie.
No, I was just going to say, and that's okay because everyone's feet are really different. And so some people have just more of a natural arch. Like I remember like my younger brother, like I wanted him to do ballet so bad because he has such pretty feet naturally. Wow. And some people, like they've never done ballet in their life and they just have really high arches and their feet point out really well. And then some people don't, and it doesn't.
Got it. Just like
I'm thinking about your question, Anjali, of like, why naturally do we sickle? Because a lot of children, when they're first learning ballet, like it's sickle city.
Sickle city.
Yeah.
I do think when you think about pointing your toes, like, because people always say point your toes, and I try to consciously say point your feet, because but I do think when you think of pointing your toes, like your foot naturally sickles.
Yeah.
Right. When you think of pointing your feet, maybe it's easier. I feel like also it's probably easier to like use this and like push it to the side. I don't know. It's probably easier to like push the foot to the side and people think that they're getting the same effect. Which is good to like know now because it's almost like instead of pushing the wrong area and doing it incorrectly, it's probably better to not have as good of a point right now, but be like utilizing the right muscles and the right parts of the foot and then just continuing to like work on that.
I just got my video back, so I just thought of kind of like showing you.
Yeah,
This is how it is.
that looks really good though.
Yeah, it does look good.
I feel like
are you able
No,
to
like Shruti, what are you talking about? Looks great.
Yeah.
no,
really
it's
does.
like you should see Jackie's. Jackie's is kind of like that perfect arch is kind of like showing, but mine is kind of like, I don't know. Maybe this is
Are you
small
able to,
thing.
But that's
push
so when
down
you
on your
do
toes?
when
Sorry,
you
Kristen.
do.
You go, Jackie, and then I'll go.
I was just gonna say, so when you progress to very advanced ballet and you get point shoes, which are like the shoes where you're up on your toe, it's actually almost better to not have a super flexible foot. You need it to be flexible enough that you can get up on top of your toes. But actually, like if I were to point my toes all the way, it actually puts me over the top. So you actually have to be here. So it's there's strengths and weaknesses to both, right? But it's okay to not have a full, like as hooky of a point, as flexible of a foot. That's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got that. Sorry about the earlier, like I had the inside TV on, so when the electricity just came, it kind of like started giving the sound.
Okay. I was gonna say, if you can maybe like put your foot across your knee or something while you're sitting, and then point your toe and see if you can like push the top of your foot with your hands. And then that'll maybe show you sort of like your range of motion. So it'll show you kind of like what's within your range of motion as opposed to your like level of strength in your foot. I don't know if that would be helpful at all, but
Sorry, I think I'm muted. When you say like sit on the ground and kind of like try putting, can you just show me? Like, can Jackie or Kristen just show me to kind of
Are
like
you
how to
talking
achieve
about
that?
just like
Yeah.
sitting and like?
Oh, okay.
yeah.
If you want, we can do an exercise all together right now that will kind of do this. So if you guys have your bar or your wall, I'm gonna grab mine and I'm actually gonna face my bar. I'm gonna try to stay kind of close. So sorry you don't see my face. So what we're gonna do, and I'll count it, but we're just gonna, so from the front, I'll just show you, but do it facing the bar. It's kind of nice to have two hands. Is I'm just gonna like bend both knees and sort of push into my point. Again, really important not to sickle your foot here to keep it in alignment. So I'm just gonna do this, 1, 2, 3. So, and then I'm gonna switch to the other leg and I go through like a parallel releve and I go to the other leg. And so I'm just gonna tread kind of through these a couple of times. So we'll do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we'll go to the right and we'll hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we'll go to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we'll quick switch to first position and we'll do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what's great about this exercise is you can kind of choose how much weight to put on your foot and how much to really stretch it.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Okay. I feel like this, like it's like a knuckle, but like right here, I feel like this bone gets in the way. And when I watch somebody else do it, it looks like it's so flexible. For me, it feels like it feels like my toe like rests on it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's like I feel that knuckle right here.
I think point your toes less and your arch and ankle more. What do you say, Jackie?
And I think too, like for me too, like it being cold out does affect my flexibility. So like because it's so cold, my feet aren't as my feet ache and aren't as flexible.
And Anjali, can you see that the same thing's happening for Jackie too?
Yeah.
That she's kind of getting onto that bone there.
Right.
Yeah. But if it hurts, don't push down onto the bone for sure.
Yeah, it's just like a weird feeling. More than hurt, it's just maybe it's like a unknown feeling. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, let's try this exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, switch, 3, 4, switch, 5, 6, switch, 7, 8. Right hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Switch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go to first position, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, 2, switch, 3, 4, switch, 5, 6, switch, 7, 8. Hold right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How did that feel? You feel more flexible?
I thought it felt kind of nice.
That was good. It was a good stretch for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good stretch.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure how much time we have. I want to do one. We'll just maybe do this one last one to work on the wing of your foot. So what you do, and we can do it facing the bar again, is you do a tanju to the front, and then you're gonna go on the ball of your foot, and you just sort of push your weight down, and you sort of stretch that ankle forward. So you're just gonna hold it, and then you sort of try to straighten that foot, but keep your ankle there, and move it to a tanju. And then you can do it to the side. The side isn't quite as wingy, but you can do it again to the side. This is more to stretch your arch, sorry. And then again, you're like trying to keep it there. And then the back gets a little funny. So you do it to the back, and you actually like don't really go all the way on the ball of your foot. You kind of keep it just that piece, that you like just your toe, kind of. And then really working on twisting that ankle down to the floor. So we'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we'll do that on cloth. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Straighten 7, 8. Side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Straighten 7, 8. Back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Straighten 7. Side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Straighten 7. Left side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Straighten 7. Side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Straighten 7. Back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Straighten 7. Side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Straighten 7, 8.
I really like that one.
I love that one, especially to the front. It's like,
Yeah, I actually really like that one.
I
My
noticed while
feet
we
are
were
so
doing-
warm.
You're so warm?
My feet are so warm.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that I noticed while I was doing it that actually my feet are still feeling a little chilly. I think just because it's winter.
Yeah.
And so I just was kind of going to give a little warning not to like ever stretch too much when you're feeling cold. That's kind of when you can more easily hurt yourself. But I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I like that one too.
I think this might be a term more used in jazz than ballet, but just for your reference, that position where you kind of have like just the ball of your foot on the ground and a bent knee is called a forced arch.
Yep.
If you hear that being thrown around during choreography.
You use it a lot when you're use it a lot in jazz, and then when you get on point shoes, you're like up on your point shoe, but you use this a lot. That's how you do like like a lot of dance moves you do from this sort of position but you're up on a point shoe. So it's kind of more advanced for now, but it's really good for working through that kind of foot stretching and articulation.
Yeah. Then I think something to remember, my ballet teacher kind of really like warned against like overstretching. Like you never want to overstretch to the point where you have flexibility that you don't have like the strength to do anything with. So like really the main way that we're going to work, I mean, all of these exercises are so great and they're good reminders for me and things that I'm going to be doing more often. But the main way that we want to work on that point and that wing and the turnout is through like our tendus and other exercises. So just kind of something to keep in mind. Any questions
I agree.
before we finish up? You agree, Jackie?
Yeah, I agree. That to me, like doing
a
slow tendu is like there's nothing better than doing a slow tendu in my opinion.
Yeah. And my teacher would say that like if a professional ballet dancer gets hurt, the first thing you see them doing is tendus to kind of assess like where is the pain, where is the injury, can I still move through it? I don't know. Tendus are great. Any final things then before we finish up? Do we do reverence? It feels almost like weird to do reverence when we didn't even do like a ballet bar today.
Wow.
I really kind of like these like troubleshooting days.
I
where
do
we
too.
can, like, really take questions.
It feels more like it feels more like a real class.
Yeah, I agree.
Totally.
Yeah, because you would get these types of things in a real class. So yeah.
So if you're watching on YouTube, join us on Zoom and bring us your problems and let us troubleshoot. We don't mind.
Yeah.
We don't mind taking the whole half an hour.
I feel like I got a good stretch today though.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I agree.
Okay.
Well, we should, if we don't do reverence, we should definitely clap for each other still.
Okay. Everyone, good job.
What did you say, Jackie?
I said, everyone, good job today.
Yeah. Any announcements for the week? Any other questions for either ballet or Bharatanatyam? I didn't see anything online, so we'll just check once before. Announcements though, I think we still have the daily yoga that's still happening, I believe. You can check quickly. I think we're on day 17 today, was uploaded earlier today, this morning. So still there's opportunity for the rest of, a little bit more than halfway through, but all the videos are uploaded. I sometimes find this a couple days, I actually do 2 or 3 in one, which is just like a half an hour session if I'm not able to do it one day. So I would definitely check those out. Other than that, I don't know if we have any other announcements. As always, if you're able to donate, please check that out at saathmn.org/donate. And there's some cool things on the SAATH website as well. Some planning going on for the next year. So as soon as we know more about what 2021 will look like, we'll share that here. Anybody else have any other updates, announcements, community things that they want to share? All right, everybody stay warm, stay safe, and we will be, this class will still be here next Wednesday, 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time in the US, I should say too. And so if you're able to join or live, we would love that. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you all next